Hi everyone, greetings from Jakarta, Indonesia. I'm Rebecca Purba and I will be presenting on behalf of the Agriculture Resilience Act team. I'd like to thank my task team, Louisa and Abigail, for their amazing work on this output. Also to our Deputy Manager, Alyssa, the rest of the team, and our faculty advisor, Professor Palmer, for their guidance. Keeping a manure lagoon, a large holding tank for animal waste, is a common practice when there is a large amount of livestock. But this is detrimental to the environment when there is a high concentration of livestock. This practice releases methane, a potent greenhouse gas, which could have been and should be avoided. So what's a better solution? Pictured here is a manure separator installed at Dennis da Silva Dairy Farm in California. This machine separates the liquids, letting the solids be stored dry and thus aerated, and as a result, releases less methane. This technology has been successful in not only reducing methane emissions, but also saving energy. Unfortunately, not enough farms are using this nor have access to these resources. Therefore, farmers would benefit from a governmental program that incentivizes the adoption of such solutions. This solution is one of the programs proposed by the bill we will explore further today. Our agenda: we will review the goals of the bill, explore program design to effectively implement this bill, and lastly, examine the stakeholders of the bill. The Agriculture Resilience Act was introduced earlier this year by Maine Representative Shelley Pingree. It aims to reduce greenhouse gases in the agriculture sector by 50% by 2030 and reach net zero by 2040. In addition to reducing greenhouse gas emissions, if passed, the bill increases federal investment in research and education efforts. It supports new programs on soil health, livestock waste emission reduction, food waste mitigation, and on-farm renewable energy. All the initiatives proposed in the bill are intended to advance the goal of net zero and increase climate resilience across the sector. As this is a vast piece of legislation, today we will focus on conservation of private grazing land and alternative manure management. First, conservation of private grazing land. This program promotes managed grazing, which is a form of pasturing that grazes livestock on segments of pasture. This allows the other segments to rest and for soils to recover from past grazing. This recovery period allows grasses and other vegetation to regrow, which increases soil moisture and in turn soil stability and productivity. Healthy soils are extremely beneficial for agricultural yields, and most importantly, soil carbon sequestration. Increasing the amount of carbon stored in the soils, such as through better grazing management, is a central pillar of the plan to get to net zero emissions from agriculture. This program advances managed grazing through technical assistance and educational programs for farms transitioning from confinement and feedlot systems to managed grazing-based systems, and through dispersing grants to fund grazing land research, demonstration, and outreach projects to promote grazing across the United States. A total budget of $50 million is allocated from 2021 to 2030. The Natural Resources Conservation Service, or in short, NRCS, is an agency within the Department of Agriculture that delivers assistance to farmers through a national network of local experts. This agency currently provides extensive guidance on conservation, but without specific emphasis on climate change or resilience. Therefore, in this program design, we would create a series of regional advisory councils to advise the NRCS in creating a series of regional guidelines and benchmarks for the conservation education program. These advisory councils would include climate scientists, farmers, conservationists, and community groups. And the guidelines created will be specific to the conditions in each region and geared towards the unique challenges farms in those areas face. Finally, the NRCS will review and decide on the dispersal of the grants based on guidelines created by the Advisory Council. The NRCS has an existing infrastructure to serve local, state, and regional interests through their regional divisions in the West, Central, Northeast, and Southeast. These divisions would facilitate collaboration between the advisory councils and other arms of the agency. Currently, each NRCS regional division has a separate focus. And the Central Regional Center has the task of leading the National Grazing Land Team. This program, therefore, will require creating a new workflows so that each regional center has a grazing land team and an education team. This way, an applicant from any state would report to the regional division and can apply for grazing land management grants. Each regional advisory council will also focus on creating benchmarks for conservation education programs. Finally, all regions will then report to the National Center for annual reviews. Moving on to the second program design, Alternative Manure Management Program. The objective of this program is to support livestock methane management strategies to effectively reduce greenhouse gas emissions and to maximize environmental benefits. This includes conversion from confined facilities to pasture-based management that eliminates or reduces the quantity of manure stored in anaerobic conditions, installing manure storage, installing solid separation systems, and other technologies. A total budget of $1.5 billion is allocated from 2021 to 2030. Farms will submit funding proposals for one or a few of the alternative manure management strategies. They will be monitored as they implement and use these new techniques, and at the end of a 3 to 5 year observation window, complete a calculation of changes to the methane emissions due to the shifts in manure management. The fund covers the costs associated with implementing and maintaining the program with a limit of $750,000 per application during any 5-year period. You may recall the farm we spoke of earlier, Dennis the Silva Dairy Farm. It installed a manure separator, one of the forms of alternative manure management, at its own farm through funding from California Department of Food and Agriculture. A cluster of farms, say within a county, may also apply together to share technical resources and effort for both the application process and implementation of manure management strategies. This way, more farms can participate in this program. For instance, a cluster of farms may submit a joint application in order to facilitate a centralized composting facility in the county. Now, let's take a closer look at the stakeholders to better understand the potential fates of the bill. First, who benefits from the programs and initiatives included in the bill? Small and organic farms, agriculture researchers, environmental organizations, companies with values and goals similar to those of the bill might benefit from the programming and funding by financially incentivizing the work these stakeholders already do. On the other hand, adaptation of the regulations in the bill might cut into the profit margins of large agricultural corporations or big ag, including decreasing dependence on pesticides and fertilizers, which would decrease sales for agriculture chemical producers, and a reduction of feedlots, which might increase the cost for these operations and reduce the income for feed producers. Climate solutions are moving to the forefront of political debate, allowing for optimism that we will see a resurgence of these ideals within the context of agricultural reform in the future. And it is important for the success of future legislation to conduct analysis and management simulations. We will explore possible program options throughout the remainder of the semester. And with that, I thank you for your time and attention, and I'd be happy to take any feedback or answer any questions. Thank you.
Very nice job, Rebecca. Nice work. Are there any questions?
All right, Liz has her hand raised.
Okay.
Hi, Rebecca. Thanks. That was a great presentation. I'm just interested, you spoke a little bit about that one farm as an example, but could you talk a little bit more about any examples of these sorts of techniques or programs already being implemented, please?
Sorry, so you were referring to the farm for our case examples, and you're interested in knowing if there are other techniques?
Or just examples in the real world of any of these programs or techniques already being implemented?
Yeah, so actually the interesting part about this bill, most of the programs that it outlines are already in progress, like they're already being implemented. For example, the farm that I mentioned, the state of California already has that alternative manure management program. And then the grazing land is also already operating, but the challenge is it's not to the scale that we needed if the goal is to reduce by 50%. So what this bill is trying to do is collect all of those success programs throughout the United States, but then upscale it nationwide. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, other questions?
Dr. Chilred has his hand raised.
Okay, Steve, go ahead.
Hi, great talk. Just a technical question on the manure separator. You gave the example in California, which has a much drier climate than the East Coast, for example. Would it work as well in a humid environment like North Carolina that has a lot of feedlot problems?
That's a great question. I would say personally, I would probably not be the best suit to talk about the science behind it, but I would say, so the bill covers multiple projects, right? Our team are only covering 2. Last summer, we also talked about anaerobic digester, and perhaps that is something that is more suitable for different areas in the United States. So that could be a solution, say if the land is not as dry as California. That would be my intuition.
And then just another quick question on it. Does it affect the odors? Because that's another community issue that people have, is just the odors of the feedlots and the water pens.
Yeah, so I think for the alternative manure management program, I think that was sort of the goal, to make it dry so that the odor is less harmful than just leaving it as a liquid manure in the open, so that it's also less pollution to the water. I think that's the main goal of the program.
Sounds like a very good goal to me. Okay, we have time for one more question if there is one. Okay, well, if not, very good job, Rebecca. And I know, what time is it where you are right now?
It's just 9 p.m., so not too late in Indonesia.
Not too bad. Okay, well, anyway, have a good evening.